The Iraqi Mirage F1 had barely escaped an F-15 Eagle's clutches, its pilot's heart still racing from the close call in the early days of Desert Storm. Scanning his radar, he spotted something else, a lone aircraft flying low and slow, unaware of his presence. He saw an opportunity for revenge. The Mirage carried 2 heat-seeking missiles, 2 30mm cannons, and 1,200 rounds of ammunition. The American EF-111 Raven was built to jam radios and carried no offensive weapons. This should have been the shortest air-to-air engagement in military history. But the Raven was about to demonstrate why electronic warfare aircraft don't need missiles to win. The Mirage F1 was born amid intense experimentation at Dassault Aviation in the 1960s, as France sought to carve out its own path in fighter development during the turbulent Cold War. Dassault first explored a few different directions: the Mirage F2, a larger jet with swept wings testing vertical takeoff ideas, and the Mirage F3, a smaller high-speed interceptor for French air defense. But both fell short of Dassault's ambitions. Engineers shifted to a new design built around the proven ATAR 9K50 engine, already tested in the Mirage 4. They cut the plan to just 50 aircraft. The result was the Mirage F1, designed to replace the aging Mirage 3 and Mirage 4, both still solid performers, but starting to feel outpaced. Unlike earlier Mirages with triangular delta wings, great at speed, but tricky when slow, the Mirage F1 took a different path. It used high-mounted swept wings and a conventional tailplane, giving it better agility and low-speed control. The swept wings slashed takeoff runs by more than half compared to the Mirage 3, a critical advantage for operations from shorter or forward air bases. Pilots also praised the F1's more responsive handling and 25% slower approach speeds on landing. Fuel capacity increased significantly, extending combat radius by 40%. Though the thicker wing added drag and reduced top speed, aerodynamic improvements and better propulsion balanced the trade-off, resulting in a fighter that was more maneuverable and versatile than its predecessors. The first prototype flew on December 23, 1966, overcoming initial delays caused by funding shortages. By its 4th flight, it pushed past Mach 2, proving its speed and power. A tragedy struck in May 1967 when the prototype suffered aerodynamic flutter, a sudden loss of control, and crashed. Despite the setback, the French Air Force stayed committed. A redesigned second prototype flew in March 1967, followed by an order for 3 more. Meanwhile, the Mirage F2 was quietly shelved. By the early 1970s, the Mirage F1 was entering production at Dassault's Bordeaux facility and under license at Belgium's Sabca. The French Air Force approved a batch of 85 aircraft in late 1971, making it their new frontline fighter. Built for all-weather, day or night missions, the Mirage F1 used the Thompson CSF Cyrano 4 pulse Doppler radar. It could track targets beyond visual range, cut through cloud or darkness, and map terrain at low level. It also guided the jet's weapons, but on long missions, it risked overheating, forcing pilots to manage it with care. The cockpit included multiple radios for communication with other aircraft and ground controllers, an autopilot to reduce pilot workload on long sorties, and a radar altimeter to maintain precise low-altitude flight. At its core, the Mirage F1 relied on the Snecma ATAR 9K50 turbojet, a rugged single-shaft engine delivering 14,000 pounds of thrust dry and up to 23,000 with afterburner. It launched the F1 past Mach 2 and up to 65,000 feet, combining high-speed reach with high-altitude punch. Though not the most advanced of its era, the ATAR was praised for its simplicity and toughness. In combat, it gave the Mirage F1 the ability to sprint, climb, and maneuver with confidence. The Mirage F1's weapon suite was carefully arranged for versatility and offensive power. Its 2 30mm Defa cannons were mounted side by side in the aircraft's nose, delivering devastating firepower in close-range dogfights. For beyond visual range engagements, it carried up to 4 Matra Super 530 radar-guided missiles on underwing pylons. These medium-range missiles were designed to track and intercept enemy aircraft using radar homing. Complementing these were short-range infrared heat-seeking missiles, typically the French Magic or the American AIM-9 Sidewinder, fitted on wingtip rails. These nimble missiles locked onto the heat signatures of enemy jets, excelling in tight, high-speed dogfights. By the early 1980s, the Mirage F1 had matured into a seasoned hunter, fast, sharp-eyed, and lethal when cornered. With supersonic speed over Mach 2, agile handling, and a wide mix of air-to-air weapons, it didn't need constant combat to prove its worth. Just showing up with radar lit and missiles armed was often enough to shift the balance. From Africa to South America, the F-1 played the part of interceptor, escort, and aggressor. It stalked MiGs, shadowed strike aircraft, and held contested skies with quiet menace. Whether intense standoffs or sudden bursts of cannon fire, it showed that air power wasn't just about dogfights. It was about presence, timing, and the confidence to act when the shot came. In the border war, South African Mirage F1 CZs were often scrambled against Angolan and Cuban MiG-21s, compact, high-climbing Soviet interceptors built for knife-fight range. In one 1981 sortie, Mirage pilots were vectored in by ground control and launched Matra R-550 Magic missiles the moment they had tone. But the MiGs, smaller and slipperier on radar, broke lock. Closing the gap, the F-1 switched to cannons. The DEFA 30mm guns, heavier and more punishing than the MiG's single-barrel GSH-23, proved decisive. Though the Mirage lacked the MiG-21's raw climb rate and was saddled with older radar, its stability in turns and smooth acceleration through low-level merges gave it the edge when things got close and fast. Over time, these hit-and-run tactics helped push Cuban and Angolan jets further back from the front. South Africa eventually achieved air superiority over the border zone, and the Mirage had done the grinding work to earn it. In the Paquisha War of early 1981, Ecuador's Mirage F1 JAs flew aggressive patrols over jungle highlands, screening hellborn forces as they pushed toward the border. Across from them, Peru's Mirage 5Ps and swing-wing Su-22s loitered and probed. The Mirage 5 shared DNA with the F1, but lacked radar and all-weather capability, while the Su-22 could haul more ordnance, but handled like a loaded truck in a turn. In one shadowy encounter, an Ecuadorian F-1 locked onto an Su-22 and fired a magic missile, but the shot missed, either from poor tone or smart maneuvering. Still, the message landed. No Peruvian aircraft crossed the line. The F-1s held the ridgelines and refused to be baited, using presence and posture to control the air without committing to a drawn-out fight. The war ended in a ceasefire after less than 2 months. While the conflict stayed small, Ecuador's air dominance, anchored by the Mirage, meant its troops could move without threat from above. In August 1981, Libya's Mirage F-1s flew point for a massive 70-aircraft formation as it surged toward a U.S. Navy carrier group in the Gulf of Sidra. They didn't expect a dogfight. They expected to be seen. The F-1s, faster than the U.S.'s Navy A-7s and tougher than the F-14s at low altitude, carried Cyrano 4 radar and air-to-air Matra missiles that gave them real reach. No shots were fired, but that wasn't the point. The formation turned before breaching U.S. airspace, but the signal was clear. Libya was willing to flex, and the Mirage gave them just enough range, just enough radar, and just enough bite to be taken seriously. It wouldn't last. U.S. Navy F-14 shot down 2 Libyan Su-22s just days later, but in that moment, the F-1 let Libya put its threat on the map. Iraq also found an answer to their air superiority problems in the F-1. Tired of relying solely on Soviet hardware, Iraq shopped for sharper wings. They turned west to France and signed a deal for the Mirage F-1 EQ, a sleek interceptor with precision avionics and serious range. Dassault's export model gave the Iraqi Air Force a modern edge, arriving just as tensions with Iran began to boil. 16 Mirage F-1s were on order when the Iran-Iraq War erupted in 1980. Deliveries briefly paused, but resumed quickly. Iraq needed them in the fight. By late 1981, the Mirage was a frontline star. Fast, nimble, and equipped with the Cyrano 4 radar and Matra missiles, it quickly proved its worth in air combat. That December, flying with the 79th Squadron, an Iraqi pilot intercepted and brought down 2 Iranian F-4E Phantoms. As the war shifted to the Persian Gulf, the Mirage F-1 took on a new role. With Exocet missiles slung beneath its wings, it targeted oil tankers and sea lanes, supplying Iran in what became known as the Tanker War. When Exocet deliveries lagged, Iraq temporarily leased 5 French super-étendards, carrier-based strike jets, repurposed for land-based attacks to continue the campaign. But precision had limits. In 1987, a Mirage F1 launched 2 exocets at USS Stark, misidentifying it in the haze of Gulf tensions. The impact sent shockwave through international channels, resulting in the tragic loss of 37 U.S. sailors. As the Persian Gulf War ignited, Iraq fielded 88 Mirage F1 EQ/BQ jets, plus 8 more seized from Kuwait. They were fast, agile, and battle-tested, but faced a coalition air armada that made even Dassault's finest seem desperately out of time. Born from a 1970s push to replace aging electronic warfare platforms, the EF-111 Raven carved a unique niche. Built by converting F-111A strike jets, the Raven traded bombs for a sophisticated electronic jamming suite. The ANALQ-99E system evolved from the Navy's Prowler. Its fuselage concealed a 16-foot ventral pod bristling with transmitters, while receivers perched in a fin-tip pod. This 6,000-pound electronic arsenal demanded extensive electrical and cooling upgrades, transforming the 2-seat cockpit into a divided domain, the pilot flying, the electronic warfare officer wielding the countermeasures. Unlike missile-armed fighters, the Raven carried no weapons. Instead, speed and agility became its shield, backed by upgraded twin Pratt & Whitney TF-30 engines, pumping nearly 20,000 pounds of thrust with afterburner. Its radar suite blended ground mapping with terrain-following capabilities, ensuring high-speed penetration into enemy territory. The Raven's combat debut erupted in the skies over Libya in 1986, jamming hostile radar and clearing the way for strike aircraft. During the 1991 Gulf War, 18 EF-111s prowled deep inside Iraqi airspace, flying alongside attack jets and suppressing enemy radar networks with relentless electronic assaults. The Raven moved fast and struck from the shadows, its electronic jamming masking the strike force below. But unarmed and with sluggish handling, it relied on speed alone, vulnerable if caught in a close fight. The Raven prowled the desert night, flying just hundreds of feet above the rolling dunes. Its twin General Electric TF-30 turbofan engines throbbed, pushing the aircraft on a mission that demanded absolute domination: to blind hostile radars and systematically dismantle Soviet-built surface-to-air missile sites, such as the SA-2 Guideline, a high-altitude missile reaching 25 miles and 82,000 feet, and the SA-6 Gainful, a mobile medium-range system striking low to mid-altitudes up to 24 kilometers at Mach 2.8. To the Mirage F1 pilot circling above, this was no ordinary target. It was the invisible spearhead of coalition air power, unraveling Iraq's air defenses. The Mirage, boasting superior speed and maneuverability in classic dogfights, pulled a steep climb through the darkened sky, its Thompson CSF Cyrano 4 radar locked onto the Raven's faint but unmistakable electronic emissions, a ghostly signature betraying its position. The pilot triggered the first Matra R-550 Magic missile, a heat-seeking stinger designed to home in on engine exhausts, streaking from the rail like a vengeful wasp. Instantly, the Raven responded with practiced precision, ejecting a bouquet of flares, blinding bursts of infrared heat blooming like fiery flowers against the black canvas of night. Simultaneously, it twisted violently into high-G evasive maneuvers, banking hard and diving low. The missile, deceived by the decoy's intense thermal signature, swerved erratically, missing by mere feet and detonating harmlessly in the cold desert air. A brief moment to recalibrate, but the Mirage pilot's frustration mounted. The second Magic missile was launched, this one screaming, tail trailing flames, aimed squarely at the Raven's glowing twin exhausts. The Raven descended even lower, weaving expertly between towering dunes, scraping its belly against the shifting sands, guided by its invaluable terrain-following radar system, a crucial advantage in this landscape where conventional radar suffered from overwhelming ground clutter. The Mirage's Cyrano struggled, blinded by desert echoes and radar shadows. Once again, the missile found only empty air. Out of missiles, the Mirage pilot switched to his last option: twin 30mm DEFA cannons, ferocious rotary guns, capable of shredding anything caught in their crosshairs with blistering tracer fire. The Mirage closed aggressively, stalking the Raven's unpredictable flight path, eyes scanning for that fleeting, perfect shot. The Raven dipped and surged, engine screaming at maximum afterburner, skimming mere feet above sand waves. Defa cannons barked. Tracer rounds shrieked through the night, but every volley was dodged. Each time, the Raven twisted away. The Mirage pilot pressed harder, threading impossibly tight turns as the aircraft fought to match the Raven's speed and agility. Its single Atar turbojet pumped raw thrust, but lacked the Raven's twin-engine power and sophisticated electronic warfare suite that rendered it nearly untouchable. Frustration gnawed deep. This wasn't a straightforward dogfight. The Raven ruled the electromagnetic spectrum, cloaked in jamming signals and false echoes that made targeting a near-impossible task. Taking a desperate gamble, the Mirage pilot chased the Raven into a narrow valley carved between colossal dunes. The Raven skimmed the ground, its terrain-following radar painting a flawless electronic map of the landscape. Visibility was almost non-existent. The Mirage pilot relied on instinct, the faint glow of afterburners ahead, and the roaring echo of engines bouncing off sand walls. Suddenly, the Raven yanked hard back on its stick, throttled up aggressively, surging into a violent supersonic climb, afterburners blazing fierce orange. Caught low and slow in the valley, the Mirage strained desperately, engines screaming at maximum power, but unable to match the Raven's explosive burst of thrust. With one blinding salvo of electronic countermeasures and raw power, the Raven slipped away, vanishing into the starless sky. Alone in the void, the Mirage flew low, weapons spent. Beneath, the endless desert stretched like an ocean of sand. A spatial disorientation twisted the pilot's senses. The nose pitched down violently. Speed spiraled out of control, and the desert surged up. Flames spat briefly before the sand claimed the blaze. This wasn't just a dogfight. It was a clash of philosophy and technology. The Mirage F1, sleek and lethal, packed cannons and missiles for direct combat. The EF-111 Raven, loaded with electronic countermeasures, was built to jam, evade, and disappear. On January 17, 1991, the Raven showed the world that raw firepower wasn't the only way to survive. For their story, Raven pilots Captains James Denton and Brent Brandon earned the Distinguished Flying Cross. But the truth stayed murky. Iraqi pilot Al-Jabouri, alive years later, claimed an EF-111 crashed, dodging his missile. Some say the explosion the Raven crew saw was a different Mirage, downed earlier, though a witness pilot recalled no Ravens nearby. Iraq had entered the Gulf War with 88 Mirage F1s, sleek symbols of French aerospace ambition, once flown by 14 nations across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. But on January 17, 1991, the opening night of Desert Storm, a Mirage failed to intercept an unarmed EF-111 and ended its mission in a fireball. It was a turning point, not just for Iraq's Air Force, but for the Mirage itself. By war's end, 23 were destroyed, 6 damaged, and 24 fled to Iran. The rest sat grounded, sidelined by no-fly zones and shifting priorities. Once a frontline fighter across 3 continents, the Mirage F1 now serves in just 5 nations, scattered across North and West Africa and the Middle East. Its twilight years saw it fly over Libya in 2011, where some pilots defected rather than bomb civilians. A Moroccan jet went down in 2015 after a bird strike, the pilot ejecting safely. Spain retired its fleet in 2013. Its Mirage F1Ms eventually sold to private U.S. contractors. There, in American skies, the Mirage F1 has found an unlikely second life. Flown by aggressor squadrons, it now trains the very pilots it was once built to outfly.